Welcome to Structure Fishing. I'm Jim Shell. I've got a update for you on my recent trip to Lake Erie. Going to tell you all about our trip and more specifically what we learned on this trip. Depth and speed control once again. Lake Erie, the walleye capital of the world. Casey and I went up here last year for the first time, 4th of July weekend last year, and we had a really good trip. On that trip, let me switch over to Navionics. Um, there's a video up here. If you haven't seen that, take a look at that trip. I explained how we found the fish on that trip. It was our first time fishing there last year, and we did really good on this Kelly shoal over here. Um, and the fish were more active last year. We got the fish every method, trolling cranks, crawler harnesses, casting, jigging. It was a pretty good trip. So we decided to go again this year. And we had, as it turned out, we were up there for 5 days. So being up there, having so much time up there, I decided instead of making the long boat run from shore here, which is about 10, 11, 12 miles to get to Kelly Shoal, we decided to stay on Kelly's Island. And they have a ferry that goes to Kelly's Island. Um, it's kellysislandferry.com. And if you're interested in the cost, was $120 for the two of us, with the car and the boat, obviously, to go across round trip. The website pricing would seem a little confusing. I guess it's not. Down here they have fares for the trailers and mobile homes and boats, etc., and that's listed as round trip. So my boat is 17 foot, so I was charged $48 round trip for the boat, and now the prices up here are one way. There was two of us, so that was $20 one way. So round trip was $40, and the van was $16 one way, $32 round trip. So we had 32, 40, and the 48 down here was a cost of $120 to take the ferry to Kelly's Island round trip. First time I ever took a ferry and stayed on an island, so it was pretty interesting. It was about a 20-25 minute ferry ride to get to Kelly's Island. And Kelly Island is, I would say, what it's known for are these electric carts. It seems to me that the most popular tourists that go to Kelly's Island take the ferry across without their car, just passenger. Um, and for adults, so they pay $20 round trip. They take the ferry across and they rent electric golf carts. This island is loaded with electric golf carts. Um, yeah, but you got a handful of restaurants and bars and marinas down here. Most of the uh, activity is all right in the area where the ferry lands. We took the short drive to the north side of the island, which is down the only main road here. It's a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's probably, I don't know, 3 miles if that to get to the north end here. And we stayed at Kelly Island Park, State Park. Not a bad park at all. Um, got reservations. I don't recall. I think it was 21 or $27 a night. I don't recall for camping. Nice facility. The only thing I wasn't too impressed with, they do have a fish cleaning station, but it's close to the beach. Um, it wasn't the best at all. They didn't have any running water. You put all the remains of the fish in these buckets, and there was just millions of flies and maggots. And I'm surprised that they didn't have a fish grinder set up like you typically would see. But it wasn't bad. The state park itself was pretty nice. And the only launch I think on the island is right around the corner of the state park. Let me go to satellite view here. There we go. You can see the campground sites are over here, and the boat launch is right over here. Parking lot for the boat launch, and it's protected, so if you have any kind of wind, you should not have a problem launching over there. So that's where we set up, where we stayed, and we were fishing. Let me pull up Navionics. Like I say, last year, and we were up here at the same time this year, 4th of July. I think we were fishing July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. actually the 31st, whatever. And it was from the boat ramp to Kelly Shoal was right around 3 mile run. And the first day we got out there, the weather was not stable at all. The weather was very unstable, and fishing was tough. We had to dial in the right depth and speed, and that's how we got the fish. Um, I think we got there at the tail end of some good movements because the first day out there, um, we did get our limit every day, but some days took a while. And the first day, we probably had our overall the biggest average size. I'll show pictures of day one. I'll put them up here. You can see here the fish we caught each day. But more specifically, I want to tell you about how we found the fish and the depth and speed that was needed to get these fish to take. Uh, we spent most of our time the first day fishing the same spots we were catching them last year, which is off Kelly Shoal on this side right here. And the reason I picked this side is the deepest water, 52 feet, according to avionics, comes right here, this part of the shoal. And that's where we spent all of our time fishing. And we caught, just like last year and this year, we caught a limit of walleyes the first day, going back and working this area over here. But then things really slowed down. Like I say, the weather was very unstable. Winds were out of the north the first day, then it was out of the southeast, then it switched to the west, then it went back to the southeast. Just weather conditions were unstable, and we found out that the fish wanted a very slow speed control and depth control. But most of our fish that we caught was right here at this Gull Island Shoal. You can see another big structure not far from Kelly's Island Shoal and Kelly Island itself. It was just straight north of the boat ramp, and we were here. And when I was studying this structure, once again, I'm looking for where the deepest water in the area is closest to this structure, and it was right here. And you can see here, you got 50 feet of water up here. You can tell you got a pretty sharp break line in this area here. So we spent all of our time working this break line right here back and forth. Now, one thing I do want to say, on this particular trip, and I've heard a lot of people comment about this, this was the first trip that we caught, mostly every walleye we caught was suspended. Yeah, I'm not used to fishing for suspended fish. I mean, I've fished Green Bay many a times. We never caught suspended walleyes out there. Not saying they don't have them out there, but I'm always using the bottom as my guide, the breaks and break lines as my guide to find these fish. This trip here, just about all these fish we caught were suspended, although I still use structure as my guide, and I was close to that break line. I don't think that we fished more than 50 yards off that break line, but we didn't find any fish really up on the break line. They were all suspended, over this 50-foot water, but I was still staying close to that break line. Now, the big key to catching these fish, like I said earlier, was depth and speed control. These fish were very dormant, inactive, and we tried, first time we fish a structure, we're always going to check our speeds, and I always like to start out first with a faster speed and then slow my way down from there. So we started trolling crankbaits, didn't get any fish. Then we switched over to the night crawler harnesses using electric motor, and all that does is give us a slower speed control. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you Casey did a great job filming a little tutorial, if you want to call it, on the depth and speed we were using, showing you how we were setting up we were using inline weights. And he talks about how, the speed of the boat, how much line to let out to get depths on it. And you can see the depth and speed control we were using, but these fish wanted it slow. We were going 1 mile an hour with the electric trolling motor, using the night crawler harnesses, and it was slow speed. And because the fish are suspended and they're wide out, big structures out here in the Great Lakes, you're using planer boards. And up to about 2 years ago, I wasn't really a big fan of planer boards. But when you do a lot of fishing in the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan, Green Bay, Lake Erie, you got huge structures. I mean, the object of the game here is to catch fish, and you got, the more lines out, the better chance you're going to have of catching some fish. So, just a quick note too. Most of the lakes, states, I mean, in the Midwest, around the Great Lakes, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, you're allowed 3 lines per person, but that is not the case in Ohio. Just word of warning for those you do not know. If you are fishing Lake Erie in Ohio waters, you're limited to 2 lines per person, which is no big deal at all. I mean, actually, most of the time when encasing air fishing the Great Lakes and we're using planer boards to get more lines out, we're typically only using 2 lines each. I think having 3 lines each, 6 lines total is just too much of a mess. But I think with 4 lines out, we're able to cover enough water there. But you are limited to 2 lines per person in the state of Ohio. But we're going 1 mile an hour, and a lot of the fish. I would let out a planer board on my side, and I would hold my second line in case he put 2 planer boards on his side because he's the one that's checking them, and he stays pretty active. Just watching all these lines, but I was holding the line, and you can just barely feel these walleyes tap. And same thing with the planer boards. You can see we got these tattletale flags that if a fish hits, the flag is going to pop down like this. And there were many, many times where you could just see that flag just barely tap like this. And there were a lot of times also that you didn't even see the flag go down. You just saw the board was going down, and then all of a sudden it sort of like slid back. And I'm watching. I'm like, well, that's not right. Did I pull a weed or something like that? We pull in the line and check, and it was a walleye. I mean, they were just that dormant, negative. I mean, it took such a slow speed to get these fish. And I would occasionally check faster speeds, but for the most part, the conditions had these fish very inactive, very slow, and we had to go 1 mile an hour. And real quick on the suspension, I was staying close to the brake line because I still wanted some kind of fishing related to something. I didn't want to be drifting out in the middle of nowhere. So, although I was off the brake line, maybe 20 to 30, 40 yards, something like that. We were over 50 feet of water, and we found that most of these fish were coming at a depth from 25 to 30 feet down. So I'm not sure what causes this suspension, but nearly every fish we caught was suspended 25, 30 feet down over 50 feet of water. But the speed was slow. So I'm going to show you some of the highlights of the footage of all the walleyes we caught. And once again, Casey put on a great little tutorial. He'll go into more information, depth on a detail on the depth and speed that we used going 1 mile an hour with these inline weights and crawler harnesses. That's it. It was a good trip. I'm sure this is probably going to be one of our annual trips. We were there for 5 days, and that's one other little quick thing for those of you who aren't familiar with Lake Erie. There is no possession limit, meaning if you stay for 5 days, you can bring back 5 limits of walleye, each a limit a day. You stay for 10 days, you can bring back 10 limits of walleyes. So the limit is 6 per person, so it's 12 walleyes a day. We stayed for 5 days, so we bought back 60 walleyes, which I'm going to put on a fish fry at work. So can't wait to get at them. So thanks for watching, and here's the fish we caught.
Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to get the right depth and speed control for these walleyes on Lake Erie. Right now we're using the inline weights. This is 1 ounce, and you can see it. You clip on the crawler harness to the snap there, and it's really simple, really. And yeah, so that's what we're using, and then the inline weight is a 2-to-1 gear ratio. So if you want to get down there 30 feet, you need to allow 60 feet of line. So all I'm doing is we gotta get used slow speeds for these walleyes because they don't really want a fast presentation right now due to the conditions. So all I'm doing is I want this lure. We're fishing suspended in the water column, so I want this. I'm gonna let out about 50 to check the different water columns. So if I let out 50 feet of line, I should be down there at about 25 feet. That's all I'm doing. I clip in the planer board, and the planer boards are used to, they tell you if you have a fish on, if you have the tattle flags, so a fish bites and the flag will go down. And you can set it to different tensions depending on the lure you're using, such as a crankbait, you want it at a tighter tension. And collar harnesses, you want it on a really light tension, so you can see that bite on the flag, because the harness doesn't have a lot of pull. And all I'm doing is I'm letting it out. We already got our furthest board out there, so I'm doing this suspended. I'll let it out decent amount. You don't want to put them close together, or else they'll tangle up. So I'm just gonna let this guy out. Say about there. That's a good distance. Maybe a little bit more. Put it in the rod holder. And the planer boards, you can get a lot of lines out. You know, we usually only have one planer board out, but you can easily get 3 on each side. It's a really good way to get a bunch of lines out and increase your chances of catching a fish. So all I'm doing now is I watch the boards, get the other lines set up, and wait for a bite.
Oh. All right, we saw that flag go down. I think I got that on film too.
Yeah,
I saw the board slide back and the board flag go down. Can you get him over? I'd like to film it.
I'll try. It's definitely going to get tangled.
We just had that board out for, I don't even think it's been 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't even been 5 minutes yet. I'll get this fine, I think. Hasn't chugged like a walleye yet.
Now what you were saying on the speed?
Yeah, you need to go slow to get these fish because we're trying with cranks. And it's really not working well. They're just biting really light. So we're going a mile an hour with the inline weights, 2-to-1 ratio. You want to get down 30 feet, let out 60 feet of line. It's pretty real simple as long as you get the right depth and speed, which is a mile an hour. This feels like a walleye.
So
But
you're saying
this is on my deepest line. So repeat, if this board keeps on going off the deepest line, then I'll set another one out deeper. Coming in dead weight, just like a walleye.
bring him in on the other side?
Yep. Got some fight in them now. We got 12 feet out.
All right, I got the net
That's
here.
a walleye.
Yep.
Oh, now he's got some fight in him. Real active guy. Oh, geez, barely hooked.
It's a nice one.
Yep, this one's got one. This one's got one.
Okay, here, get this one in the net. All right. This is all live. All right, I'll keep this one in the net here. All right, you okay solo there?
Yep. Well, the fish are still here, and there's no one here. And the funny thing was, we were fishing this structure, 2 days without seeing one boat. And
Now here's the tricky part: is unclipping that without trying to give too much loose line to lose the fish.
yeah, you just want to get it off fast and start reeling.
It's obviously better if I'm helping you instead of filming you to do that. Is fish still on?
Yep.
All right, bring him on this side. We'll get tuna in that.
This was the suspended line, so they could be all over the water column, just like I mentioned. It is a walleye.
Another eye.
And, you know, you can see the reason why guys use 2 nets out here. Got my rod in the camera. My bad. Oh, whoa, and the hook just came off.
There we go.
Awesome.
2 walleyes in a matter of 5 minutes. We only had 2 lines out.
Yep. And both hooks came out.
All right. Well, hey, Casey, thanks for
that. No problem. That's Casey's segment.
Thanks for that explanation on how to get the right depth and speed control with planer boards, with night crawler harnesses, inline weights.
And you can see it obviously works.
Yep. Let's get them.
Yep.
Yeah, I told you I was watching it. Look, I saw going ding, ding, ding. We'll leave those 2 lines out.
Yep. You can keep going.
Let me know when you want me to get the board out.
Yep. All right. All right, you can slow down a little. I'm getting all the text messages. We must be close enough to get a signal.
Yeah.
All right, guys, hooked up. Another one on here. It's been a while since we've caught one. Tried drifting, didn't catch anything.
Hope it's so high.
Feels like an eye. I have 27 feet out.
Get the eagle ready.
Get the ego. These fish are suspended still.
Look like an eye.
See it all the way down there. 10 feet, yep.
Yep, nice one. Ooh, it's a nice one.
Wait. Yeah. Oh. Okay,
All right.
there we go. All right, keep on going. Engage the boat, keep on going. Come on.
They seem to be sort of neutral dormant right now.
Yeah.
That flag, I saw his flag just like ting. I'm watching it, and I'm like, I don't think it was capped. Did it capped again?
Yep.
Was he hooked pretty decent or not?
Yeah. I mean, it's a treble hook, so a lot better hooked than the single one. About an 18. Nice one.
That's 9.
That's 9. Oh, all right.
I just saw a little right in front of it, yellow green can again.
Yep.
It's a hot spot. How does it feel? Small or?
No. Feels nice.
Okay.
All right, get ready. Go.
Black.
Got him. Yep. We got 44 feet out. Guys, fishing has definitely slowed down, but we're still getting fish here and there, which is good.
Straggler here and there. Yeah.
Straggler here and there. Hopefully they're gonna bite in the evening. They'll have another movement. You got 15.
I think it's
Yeah.
To him?
6, 5.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Sweet. All right, keep the boat going. Came on that treble. You got the front hook. All right, guys. Hope you can see this clearly. That's another probably 20-incher. Again, fat. Sweet. Going in the box. Got 10 now. Awesome fish. Alright, get some more. Alright guys, here's our 12 fish. They're surprisingly a good average size. I say that about all three of these are 20 inches, so is this one. But actually the average size probably 18 at least. And this is awesome. We got all of these on crawler harnesses. And they're suspended just a little bit. They're not nearly as suspended as they were with the before. But I think they're starting to turn on right now. But all these fish were just barely tapping it. We need to get the right depth and speed control to get these fish. And we got the limit pretty quickly, faster than we got our first day. But that is all the walleyes, awesome, all on crawler harnesses, and a few were on crankbaits. But we noticed that they were really light biting today, so we switched to the crawler harnesses, and that was the right move. All right, let's get some more. Right. I'm gonna get the hooks out of the net.
Wait, may I flip it first?
Might as well keep going. It broke off the shovel. Nice walleye.
Yeah, nice.
Did it.
Oh, we did it.
That's a good one,
All
too.
right, man. Let's go in. Let's
All right,
clean
get
them.
the pliers.
Get gas. And we're having, I guess, a late lunch, early dinner again. But this time we're gonna have walleye, occasional walleye. Good job, dude. It is 1 o'clock local time. Well, 12:59 actually. Should we just stay out here for a minute and clean up the boat?
Yeah. Alright guys, this is our 12th walleye.
And the action was, it came in some flurries,
Yeah, it did.
but this was the fastest we got our daily limit.
The last one. Sweet.
Sweet.
Nice fat fish. Awesome. Alright. Put them in the live well. Looking awesome in there.
The net ready.
Pretty sure this one might be wrong.
Looks pretty active. Catfish, maybe?
Walleye. No, yeah.
It's a cat? No, it's a walleye.
Oh, that's a nice
Oh, yeah. That is a nice one, dude. Way to go.
Sweet.
Let's look at that pup.
Yeah.
Boy, they get right to the boat, they're getting pretty active. Maybe they're
pliers.
turning on a little bit.
Yeah. I'll show this fish to the camera.
Sweet, dude. Yeah, it's a nice one.
This is one of the biggest fish of the trip, I think.
No, we get no.
Yeah, we get like 3 of these per limit, probably.
Nice walleye.
Yep. About probably 20-incher. 21 maybe. Sweet, awesome fish. All right, guys, gonna get the lines back out there. Let's get some more. All right, guys, got our 12 walleyes. Those are the 3 biggest, and we had a pretty good average size today. But we just found that school that moved in on us, and we're still using the slow speed control. These fish needed it today because we weren't getting any on cranks. And then switched over to harnesses, and it took us a while to find that they were a little deeper. So these are our fish, and this is our, third limit? Third limit. This is our 4th day out here. It's been awesome on Lake Erie. Hopefully we're gonna get another limit tomorrow. It's our last day, but these are some nice quality walleyes, and this is an unbelievable fishery also. So yeah. All right, guys, let's get some more. All right, guys, this was our last day on Lake Erie. We got 11 fish. Couldn't get that 12th one because we gotta leave soon. We gotta still fillet everything, clean up the boat a little, take the ferry back to the mainland. So, but we got 11 walleyes. This fishery is absolutely amazing. You guys gotta come out here. There's probably fish around here all year. The prime time is, anywhere from May to July now. So it's awesome. And today was slow, and we've only fished less than half the day probably. And it's just amazing fishery that they have out here with all the fish that produce here. But we got all these fish on a slow speed, depth and speed control. We had to find these fish. We worked hard for them. We had to find these fish using depth and speed control, and that really got them with the crawler harnesses at slow speed. But I've had a blast out here eating the walleyes, catching them too. It's awesome. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.